Welcome to Airgun Academy, presented by Pyramyd Air, your online airgun resource.
In this episode, we're going to learn how to fill a PCP from a tank. I'm using this carbon fiber tank, and I'm putting air into this PCP. It really isn't rocket science. We're trying to go from here to here. When air flows from a compressed air tank like this carbon fiber tank into a gun, it compresses the air that's inside the gun, and that raises the temperature. Because of that, I want to do this very slowly. I want to take about a minute to fill this gun. Now, the gun is usually not empty. If it were, I would take longer. Let's see how this works. The first step is to connect to your source of air, which is my carbon fiber tank. And I'm using an Air Venturi tank and hose. Once you make this connection, you can leave it on the tank for the rest of the time. I'm making it just so that you see everything. Now, the way this hose works, there's a bleed valve right there by the connection. So I'm being sure to tighten that. And I'm also going to tighten the connection with a wrench. A lot of people won't do that, and they'll get a small leak where they make this hand tight. You got to go a little harder than that. Okay, the next step is to connect to the gun. Now, this is an old gun, this Air Arm Shamal, and it came with a fitting where you had to screw into the fitting. It had many threads. It took forever. I've put an adapter that I got from Air Venturi. It's a Foster male coupling, so that I can take the other end of my Air Venturi fill hose and connect it just like that. I don't know if you heard the click, but it just clicked in place. Now that the gun and the tank are connected and the bleed valve is closed, I open the air pressure and I watch as the needle rises. As the air entered the gun, it overpowered the intake valve and it made a little click. And sometimes these guns will actually make a noise as they fill. This one's being fairly quiet. All right, I got to the desired pressure. I turned the air off on the tank. The gun is filled, but so is this hose. So I have to get the air out of this hose, and that's what the bleed valve is about. I showed that to you before. I just open that and you'll hear a hiss. Now there's no more air in the hose and I can take the connection off safely. The last thing I do is cover the connection that goes to the gun with a baggie. That way I can leave it on the tank, but it'll always stay clean, which is how I want to be. We talked about one system here today, and you learned how to fill a PCP, but in a future episode, I'm going to come back and show you lots of different systems, because this isn't the only one there is. All right, let's go over the things we hit in this episode. Number one, when air compresses, heat builds, so go slow. Take about a minute to fill a gun that already has air in it. You seldom fill the gun from empty. If you do, allow a little bit more time. Connect to the tank first and then to the gun, and make sure you tighten your connections. Modern air guns have quick disconnects. Vintage guns may have other connections that require screw threads. When you start to fill, you'll sometimes be able to feel and even hear the air leaks in the hose as you're filling the gun. When it gets to the place where it starts to accept air, sometimes the gun makes a little noise. That tells you how much air was in the gun when you filled it. You want to stop when you reach the fill limit, close the air tank, and then bleed the hose before disconnecting from the gun. Those are the points we covered in how to fill a PCP from a tank. Thanks for watching.